Hey guys, I came across this chapter in the Master Key System by Charles Hannel, and I really wanted to share it with you guys. It's full of great gems, and it's got the story with Carlisle and Emerson I really wanted to share, and some of these enumerated points. Emerson and Carlisle. Emerson loved the good, and his life was a symphony of peace and harmony. Carlisle hated the bad, and his life was a record of perpetual discord and inharmony. Here we have two grand men, each intent upon achieving the same ideal, but one makes use of constructive thought, and is therefore in harmony with natural law. The other makes use of destructive thought, and therefore brings upon himself discord of every kind and character. It is evident, therefore, that we are to hate nothing, not even the bad, because hatred is destructive, and we shall soon find that by entertaining destructive thought, we are sowing the wind, and in turn shall reap the whirlwind. Thought contains a vital principle, because it is the creative principle of the universe, and by its nature will combine with other similar thoughts. As the one purpose of life is growth, all principles underlying existence must contribute to give effect. Thought, therefore, takes form, and the law of growth eventually brings into manifestation. You may freely choose what you think, but the result of your thought is governed by an immutable or unchangeable law. Any line of thought persisted in cannot fail to produce its result in the character, health, and circumstances of the individual. Methods whereby we can substitute habits of destructive thinking for those which we have found produce only undesirable effects, and therefore are of primary importance. We all know that this is by no means easy. Mental habits are difficult to control, but it can be done, and the way to do it is to begin at once to substitute constructive thought for destructive thought. Form the habit of analyzing every thought, if it is necessary, if the manifestation in the objective will be a benefit not only to yourself, but to all whom it may affect in any way. Keep it, treasure it. It is of value. It is in tune with the infinite. It will grow and develop and produce fruit 100-fold. On the other hand, it will be well for you to keep this quotation from George Matthews Adams in mind. Learn to keep the door shut. Keep out of your mind, out of your office, and out of your world every element that seeks admittance with no definite helpful end in view. If your thought has been critical or destructive and has resulted in any condition or discord or inharmony in your environment, it may be necessary for you to cultivate a mental attitude which will be conducive to constructive thought. The imagination will be found to be a great assistance in this direction. The cultivation of the imagination leads to the development of the ideal out of which your future will emerge. The imagination gathers up the material by which the mind weaves the fabric in which your future is to be clothed. Imagination is the light by which we can penetrate new worlds of thought and experience. Imagination is the mighty instrument by which every discoverer, every inventor opened the way from precedent to experience. Precedent said, it cannot be done. Experience said, it is done. Imagination is a plastic power, molding the things of sense into new forms and ideals. Imagination is a constructive form of thought which must precede every constructive form of action. A builder cannot build a structure of any kind until he has first received the plans from the architect, and the architect must get them from his imagination. The captain of industry cannot build a giant corporation which may coordinate hundreds of smaller corporations and thousands of employees and utilize millions of dollars of capital until he has first created the entire work in his imagination. The objects in the material world are as clay in the potter's hand. It is in the master mind that the real things are created, and it is by the use of the imagination that the work is done. In order to cultivate the imagination, it must be exercised. This is where it gets into it, guys. In order to cultivate the imagination, it must be exercised. Exercise is necessary to cultivate mental muscle as well as physical muscle. It must be applied with nourishment or it cannot grow. Do not confuse imagination with fancy or the form of daydreaming in which some people like to indulge. Daydreaming is a form of mental dissipation, which may lead to mental disaster. Constructive imagination means mental labor, by some considered to be the hardest kind of labor, but if so, it yields the greatest returns. For all the great things in life have come to men and women who had the capacity to think, to imagine, and to make their dreams come true. When you have become thoroughly conscious of the fact that mind is the only creative principle, that it is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, and that you can consciously come into harmony with this omnipotence through your power of thought, you will have taken a long step in the right direction. The next step is to place yourself in position to receive this power. As it is omnipresent, it must be within you. We know that this is so because we know that all power is from within. But it must be developed, unfolded, cultivated. In order to do this, we must be receptive, and this receptivity is acquired just as physical strength is gained by exercise. The law of attraction will certainly and unerringly bring to you the conditions, environment, and experiences in life corresponding with your habitual characteristics, predominant mental attitude, not what you think once in a while when you are in church or have read a good book, but your predominant mental attitude is what counts. You cannot entertain weak, harmful, negative thoughts 10 hours a day and expect to bring about beautiful, strong, and harmonious conditions by 10 minutes of strong, positive, creative thought. Real power comes from within. All power that anybody can possibly use is within man, only waiting to be brought into visibility by his first recognizing it and then affirming it as his, working it into his consciousness until he becomes one with it. All right, this is kind of comparable with Neville Goddard. There's some points that kind of miss a little bit, but there's some really good points, some really good gems in here. I know you guys see that too. People say that they desire abundant life, and they do. But so many interpret this to mean that if they were to exercise their muscles or breathe scientifically, eat certain foods in certain ways, drink so many glasses of water every day of just a certain temperature, keep out of drafts, they will attain the abundant life they seek. The result of such methods is but indifferent. However, when man awakens to the truth and affirms his oneness with all life, he finds that he takes on the clear eye, the elastic step, the vigor of youth. He finds that he has discovered the source of all power. All mistakes are but the mistakes of ignorance. Knowledge gaining and consequent power is what determines growth and evolution. The recognition and demonstration of knowledge is what constitutes power, and this power is spiritual power, and this spiritual power is the power which lies at the heart of all things. It is the soul of the universe. This knowledge is the result of man's ability to think. Thought is therefore the germ of man's conscious evolution. When man causes to advance in his thoughts and ideas, his forces immediately begin to disintegrate, and his continuance gradually registers these changing conditions. Here is a good point here. Successful men make it their business to hold ideals of the conditions which they wish to realize. They constantly hold in mind the next step necessary to the ideal for which they are striving. Thoughts are the materials with which they build, and the imagination is their mental workshop. Mind is the ever-moving force with which they secure the persons and circumstances necessary to build their success structures, and imagination is the matrix in which all great things are fashioned. If you have been faithful to your ideal, you will hear the call when circumstances are ready to materialize. Your plans and results will correspond in the exact ratio your fidelity to your ideal. The ideal steadily held is what predetermines and attracts the necessary conditions for its fulfillment. It is thus that you may weave a garment of spirit and power into the web of your entire existence. It is thus that you may lead a charmed life and be forever protected from all harm. It is thus that you may become a positive force whereby conditions of opulence and harmony may be attracted to you. This is the leaven which is gradually permeating the general consciousness and is largely responsible for the conditions of unrest which are everywhere evident. In the last part, you created a mental image. Okay, this is going to go into the exercises, which I haven't done with you guys yet, but I was really considering it. He does exercises at the end of every one of these chapters. I was thinking about if I was going to do it, we'd have to start at 1. But he goes into at end of each chapter, he does a meditation practice, and they get harder and harder, and they transition to be more difficult throughout the entire book. But leave some comments and questions if you guys want me to do that. I can start at one, and we can do one a week, or we can do one a day, depending on how well you do with meditation. But I just really wanted to share this this chapter with you guys, the Master Key System by Charles Hannel, and I really loved it. And it's part 8. All right, guys, thank you.